It started with the whispers. St. Vincent's Mental Health Hospital had always been notorious in the city. A relic from the 1930s with crumbling walls, flickering fluorescent lights, and an eerie silence that seemed to hum through the halls. But for the night shift nurses, the real horror wasn't in the decay. It was in Ward C. Ward C was where they sent the patients no one could help. The ones who screamed at nothing, clawed at their own skin, and spoke in voices that weren't their own. Nurses who worked there never lasted long. Some quit. Others changed. Marissa was new, young, eager, unshaken by the gruesome stories whispered in the break room. The ones about nurses waking up outside of the hospital with no memory of how they got there. About shadows moving in empty rooms. About a patient locked in a padded cell, somehow appearing in the hallway, grinning from ear to ear. She thought it was just hazing, until her second week on the job. It was past midnight when Marissa heard it. A voice, soft, urgent, calling her name. She followed the sound down the hallway, past the empty nurses' station, past locked doors with slats for observation. The sound led her to room 306. The patient inside, an old man with hollow eyes, was standing by the window, staring out into the darkness. He wasn't supposed to be able to stand. He turned to her, head tilted, and whispered, "They don't like it when you look." Marissa's stomach twisted. "Who doesn't like it?" she asked. He raised a shaking hand and pointed behind her. She turned. The hallway was empty, just the flickering light above, buzzing like a dying insect. When she looked back, the man was in his bed, lying still, eyes closed, as if he had never moved at all. That was the first night. The next time, it was the monitors. The patients in Ward C were on constant observation, their heart rates and movements tracked on screens at the station. At 2:13 a.m., all the monitors flatlined. Every single patient. Marissa's heart pounded as she rushed to check the rooms, but they were all fine. Sleeping, breathing, alive. As soon as she stepped out of the last room, the monitors blinked back on. She wasn't the only one who noticed. "You need to leave this place," whispered Nurse Valerie, a gaunt woman who had worked at St. Vincent's for decades. "Ward C doesn't belong to us." Marissa wanted to believe it was paranoia, exhaustion. But then she started waking up with scratches on her arms, bruises in the shape of fingers, dreams where she stood in the hospital corridors, unable to move, as something breathed against her neck. The final night she saw them. She had dozed off at the nurses' station. When she opened her eyes, the hallway was wrong, too dark. The shadows stretched long, shifting unnaturally. And in the flickering light, she saw them. Figures in old nurse uniforms, their faces hollowed out, empty sockets where eyes should be. They stood in front of room 306, motionless, watching. One of them raised a hand and pointed at her. Marissa ran. She doesn't remember getting home. Only that she woke up outside her apartment, her hospital ID gone. She never went back. 3 days later, she checked the news. A fire had broken out in Ward C. The hospital was shutting it down permanently. No cause was ever found. In room 306, it was empty. It had been for years. The patient who lived there had died in 1990.